All right, welcome back. So today we are back on my Outcast 8S. I've got to say, when I got the EXB Outcast, this thing really amazed me, surprised me, bulletproof. Didn't have a ton of issues with it. Little did I know, everything I was doing to this RC was killing it. It was literally every jump that this thing was going off of, every bad crash, landing, everything I was learning with the EXB. After the crash, it was still running. I figured it was okay. Look over little things like bolts were backing out. I always tightened them up. I would break a control arm every now and then. Bend a sway bar, strip a diff, something of that nature, and you would just fix it and move on. Didn't realize that I had destroyed this RC car. Even though it took it and it continued to drive, it literally became the world's biggest POS that I own. Now, when you take an X-Max like this and you do the same thing to it, because I've done it for 8-10 years with the X-Max, hence this one right here. This is coming up on a year old, and I've really mistreated X-Maxes. I always send them off big jumps. I tend to control them. It's something I haven't done with my Ultimates, but I do with the standard X-Max, just because I know the standard X-Max is a lot cheaper to repair. If you treat these things right, once you know how to drive it, you know to take an X-Max, nothing over really 5 feet in the air. You can back flip it, you can front flip it. As long as you can get it to land on all four wheels, you'll be okay. But when you're landing on the front nose or the rear wheelie bar, you're breaking the RC. With the X-Max, it's normally the upper bulkhead, which is a $7 part. You break a control arm, $7 you get a new control arm. So with the X-Max, it's really not too bad. You can buy a complete chassis, everything, and get an X-Max in working order again for $100. You can totally rebuild an X-Max for $100. With the Outcast, it's not that way. You bend a chassis, that's $100. Well, when you bend the chassis, you're going to break other things. It's going to cost you $100 more. Strip a diff, that's $100. Everything with this is just more expensive. Now with that, you get a really cool driving experience with the Arrma Outcast. It can't really, it's not a learner RC. It's literally, once you know how to drive, then taking this and knowing you can't go over, say, 4 feet in the air. Because if you have a bad crash, anything over 4 feet, you run the risk of really destroying this RC. And I was taking this off Big Bertha along with the X-Max, and the X-Max out-survived it. I rebuilt it and ended up selling it. And this thing should have been a parts vehicle. I should have just replaced it. But me being who I am and a mechanic, I was like, well, I'll just rebuild it. Even if I'm around the same price. Remember, I bought this as a roller, not the $1,000 ready-to-runs that you guys are purchasing today. This thing was a roller, and I have Castle electronics in it. I have my own receiver in it. Everything about this is, all the electronics are parts I chose and I paid for. That's why it's got the Savox steering servo in it. The ready runs come with all electronics and servos and all that really need to be upgraded. So even at $1,000, you're putting another $500, $600 into it to get it to this point. Back when these were released, these were rollers. So this was the first version of the EXB. And somebody left a comment saying that's not a version 1. No, I had the version 1 Outcast. I opened it up out of the box. Every shock was leaking on it. Every diff was leaking on it. A brand new RC that I ended up spending a whole day fixing, and about $200 of my money. I did try taking that back to the hobby store. The hobby store was going to just buy it back and do the repairs themselves and put it back on the shelf. I didn't want somebody else to get a headache like that, so I ended up just complaining about it, doing a video on it, and repairing it myself. Now, they said they were going to get the parts warranted, so I gave them all the old parts. That never happened. It ended up costing me 200 bucks. But it is what it is. Old news. What we're going to stop my rant now, and we're going to get back on this. You saw me fix this. Every time I've run this thing, I've had to work on it. And I'm not beating up on it anymore because I have a new chassis in it. I'm really trying to just make a good running Outcast because I love the way it handles. I love the experience with it. I love, you know, jumping it on the track. As long as I don't go insane with it, it does really well. Plus, with the new valving and the shocks, this thing really is starting to handle really good. I got the M2C valving in it. It's doing really good. Somebody said, why didn't you buy the same M2C valving for the Big Rock? For me, it's not about upgrading something like that. If the Big Rock is your only RC and you want it to be the best RC, then go ahead and put some M2C parts in it. Not all parts, but parts that are going to make Arrma's RC just better. And I'm all for that. If that's your only RC in your main basher. I have over 120 RCs. I'm not gonna put M2C shock valving in every one of my RCs because that's not the experience I'm going for. My Outcast, I think, or my Outcast, my Big Rock right here, I believe Arrma got it right. 100% out of the box, best 6S, like on-road basher you can buy. I love the Outcast 6S, or Notorious as it's, you know, sold now. It's the same RC car. The Notorious is the best basher, in my opinion, for skate parks, ramps, doing stunts and tricks. A lot of people love the Creighton. Creighton is not a stunt truck. The Outcast Notorious and EXB version of the Outcast with the backflips is truly a stunt truck. Kind of like the X-Max is a stunt truck. It's a monster stunt truck. It's the RC I like. Creighton is really stable, handles really well. You can get them to backflip, but the Outcast does it so much better, in my opinion. The Big Rock, for a grounded pound and a drifter, is an awesome RC with the factory tires. Now you go ahead and throw on some backflip 6S's on this, and you can take this same truck and throw it on a track and jump it around. Even if you gear it, you can backflip it. That's not what I want with this RC. For me, this is my grounded pound. I love taking it to the basketball courts. I love drifting it close to curbs. As you see, I do hit curbs every now and then, and it takes it. That's what this RC is. So I believe factory valving can do that. And Arrma gives you the tools to make those adjustments, and that's what I'm doing with this RC. That's why it's not getting M2C shock pistons in it. It's going to get the Arrma parts that I can get quickly, can get anywhere, and I can continue to bash this RC and drift it around. Ground and pound. This is, or these bigger monster trucks are my bashers. Same thing with my Notorious and my Outcast that I have, 6S. I love those RCs. I find myself not driving the 6S version often because I'd rather grab the 4S. The 4S is so much durable and is cheaper. So I can have just as much fun with a 4S Outcast. I can beat on it, I can learn new tricks with it, and to me, it operates almost like the 6S for a fraction of the price. So there we go. The reason I'm back on this is because I fixed this at the hobby store, and I ran it one time, and I found a problem. Before I take it out, When I see an issue, I tend to look there and make sure I fixed it properly. Went to look at the bell crank, watching Tavares' channel. I'm going to snap a picture and put it on the screen here. So, in here, you can see it. We'll zoom in on this. You can see the bolt has backed off. So, this continues to back off. So there's a bolt that comes in this way, screws into this metal like pivot ball setup to the steering links, and it keeps coming out there. So we got to throw Loctite in this area. It's a problem I've had with this RC for a little while now, and when I noticed it, went in there, tightened it down, and it was cracked. So we went ahead and put a stock bell crank on it. Aluminum bell crank might be the way because it's so hard to get to, but we're gonna have to pull apart this whole front end again to get to that so that I could fix that, because you can't have that. You can't have bolts coming loose on every bash. That's something I noticed with the upper shock bolts, is that they keep backing out as well, and they screw into plastic. So I don't know what I'm gonna do to fix that. I just keep tightening them down. They don't come apart on every run. It just happens every now and then. So we're gonna get some of this stuff taken apart. Again, and we're gonna throw some Loctite on it. Now I can't put red Loctite because red Loctite is going to make it very difficult to get out, which means I would have to heat it, and because it's connected to plastic, you can't really do that. So it has to be a softer Loctite. So I'm going to use blue. Hopefully that's soft enough. So now that we got both these disconnected, next is your steering. So steering's down in here. We're going to get the steering undone, and with this steering bolt right here, put the bolt back in, because there's a nut that slips into it that can fall out and will ruin your day if you can't find it. So once you get that arm out of the way, go ahead and stick the bolt back in, because there's a nut that slips in here and it's already moved. There we go. So that's going to ensure that the nut's not going to fall out, and when you put it back together, it will be fine. Next, RC Guy Garage. Bumper support. Got to take that off as well. Now we're going to pull the bumper. Working on the Outcast. Way too many bolts. I just heard something fall, but I imagine it's the bars. And then that one's bent. So these four should be the same size, and then our bumper can slide off. That pin looks bent. This pin looks bent. We're going to take a look at that and straighten it out. I don't know how that bent, but that 100% looks bent. Should be 4 short ones and 2 longer ones for the front. There is some diff grease on the front of that bolt. These are normally longer. That's the same size. and this is the same size. So all 6 of these are the same size. Six of these taper bolts to hold in the whole front diff. And then from that point, it should all slide off. That reminds me, I ordered diff gaskets for this, and I haven't got a call on them yet. They should have been in already. These are our culprits. And we got to get a wrench. That one's tight. This one's loose. We will clean the threads of this. I'm just holding the screw on the back right now, or the nut, pivot ball really. It's off. And this thing backs off and starts jamming into the motor. So we're going to clean the inside of this with some brake clean. Clean off this screw with some alcohol or brake clean, and then we'll thread it back together. We'll be right back. Alright. We're going to throw a little Loctite in the nut. Try an MIP. That fits way better. So now it's coming out the back. And we're screwing it in. Should pull the tires off. That is now tight. This side wasn't even loose, but I probably should do that side while I'm in here as well. So I'm going to get that side taken apart. We'll be right back. Right. So went ahead and pulled that pin. I only put 2 bolts in it. Wanted to make sure that the axles were hooked up. Pulled this pin because it looked bent, and sure enough, it's bent like crazy. So, and I know these pins were perfect because I drilled out and replaced some rear ones. So we're just going to hammer this one straight. Still got a bit of a bend right there. That should be straight enough. Make sure our axle's hooked up. we're going to throw the rest of our bolts in. These are all the things that people just don't show when they're super bashing. And I say super bashing, definitely don't want that locked. They're fifth scales. Who really wants to show all the damage that these RCs are taking, you know? Oh, batteries are getting done. Just heard a beep. I've been working on RC for 3 days now. Tomorrow's the holiday. And I'm still not ready. As you see, this plastic button's starting to wear out. Oh, it shut off again. Pin, pin, so many different sizes on this RC, like I said, with these screws. And there we go. Such a good landing now. All right. Two Arrmas done, and I haven't worked on one Traxxas, just two Arrmas. But there we go. Let me know what you think about the Outcast 8S EXB version. Did you buy the roller, or did you buy the new ready to run? Big Rock 6S Outcast EXB roller that has been around for 4 years now, 3.5, 4 years, and they're still going. A lot of money. Big Rock has taken a lot less. I hope the Big Rock doesn't continue to glitch out. If so, I have some Spectrum ESCs that I'll throw in there temporarily while I send this back to Arrma, because these have a 2-year warranty, and this RC is not 2 years old. I'm tired of buying new electronics. In the Big Rock are plenty for the Big Rock. No sense throwing a Max 6 in there. I threw a Max 6 in it. It was too much power. I like the factory ESC as long as it can live. But if it has an issue and it burns out this steering servo, I'm going to send the servo and the ESC back to Arrma and let them deal with it. But there we go. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.